Bobby, do you want to go next?
Sure, yes. Yeah, I can go next. I stand motionless in front of the mirror, deliberately taking off each item of clothing and then inspecting the bare flesh it exposes. Never had I paid much attention to what it felt to expose myself and assess each acute part of my body on an emotional level. Every marking of scarred tissue, a story to tell. The chemical burn in the shape of a capital F on my right hand, a reminder of a science experiment gone wrong when the girl I had a crush on foolishly dumped too much amount of silver oxide into the beaker. Or the sharp raised white line drawn across my knee from an overzealous soccer tackle. Or the seasonal freckles that invade my cheeks during summer, a constant reminder of my father that had passed just 16 months after my birth. My body tells the story of my life, a map of my self-discovery. My body, my physicality has both protected me and isolated me. As a child, primary school was unkind to me. Growing up in a small country town where coming from a mixed race family was alien, the racial taunts were abundant, and my thick black hair and my dark complexion were a dead giveaway that I was different, let alone my proud Filipino mother. Emotionally too weak to deal with the racial slurs, my body responded and became my saviour. I learnt to use my physicality as a means of defence. I was the kid so puffed up with bravado and aggression, yet so full of pain. And I carried this peacock posture all the way through high school, making sure I was the biggest, strongest and angriest as a device to ward off the would-be tormentors. Bruce Lee and Arnold Schwarzenegger hung on my wall, my inspiration to keep up the facade of the alpha male, my heroes, my idols. Both strong and indestructible, if there was a problem it was resolved with the clenched fist. I subscribed to this mentality and it served its purpose through my schooling years. However, when it came to dealing with the real issues that laid beneath my skin, I found it was the very same aggression that protected me now hindered me. In retrospect, I was never happy with my body, and I'm still not. I always felt uncomfortable in the change room after PE at school or on swimming sports days. I would look at the other boys running around with their shirts off, absolutely oblivious to the discomfort that I was feeling. I recall a time when I was about 11 or so, and it was a sweltering summer's day. I had found the $1.80 I needed to enter the local pool on my mother's dresser, so I stole it. And I ran as fast as my stumpy little legs could handle all the way to the pool. My friends were there already, their shirts off, reclining, eating their twisties, and the sun was drawing their shadows on the wet concrete. And all my excitement seemed to just reel up inside of me, like a horse pulling up a jump that was just too big or too far for it. And I didn't want to take my shirt off. I was ashamed of what hid underneath it. And a great lump curled up in my throat, and my shame screamed at me to leave the pool, to leave my friends. I conceded to the voices in my head and I gave my friends a thin excuse, and I slowly scuffed my way back home. And I still live with that shame. My body is the story of my life, or so I thought. I began acting at university. I didn't know why, I just knew that I loved it. Nowadays, my reasons for the choice are much clearer. Acting, for me, is the ultimate escapism. It's a chance to have a completely out-of-body experience, and maybe it's a chance for me to escape the unexplained shame. Yet it isn't. Mentally and emotionally, I may be able to transcend who I am, but physically, I can't. And this became glaringly obvious to me when I began working in the film and television industry. I act because I love the art. So when I began professional work, the thought of my face, my body, my story becoming a commercial quantity never came to mind. Then, all of a sudden, my body became a product you could view nightly on national television. My body was no longer subject to my own thoughts. It was now a topic of the public forum. And yeah, this sounds horribly vain, but I'll just keep going. And I kind of feel weird for talking about all this. Out of my own curiosity or vanity, I began to read the reviews of my work. Yet when it came to reading the comments, it was all about what I looked like. I found images of me on websites, rating my body out of 10 with user comments ranging from yes, I would fuck him, or no, I wouldn't go near him with a 10-foot pole. The look of him makes my skin crawl. And I can say that scared little boy at the pool was now terrified. Arnold and Bruce Lee now loomed over me once again, but this time they didn't instill me with strength. Rather, they instilled me with a sense of inadequacy. what I should look like, that I needed a six-pack or I needed biceps bigger than I'd ever require. It was the first time that I guess I had been exposed to sexual objectification. And I wasn't the only male at my work feeling it. There was pressure on the guys on the show to look a certain way, and it was rarely talked about. We all suffered in our own silence. And the gossip rags and the papers labelled us as girl crazy and sex symbols, whatever. And the publicity, which is a compulsory requirement, turned us into pin-up boys for schoolgirls. And all the media fueled the fire of sexual objectification. And here I was, stuck in the middle of it, wishing I never stole my mother's $1.80. But nowadays, I've reconciled with the fact that it is part of my job to look a certain way, to attain a certain physique. However, this realisation hasn't helped me to reconcile my own issues of self-perception. If anything, it's complicated it further. All the attention from the media made me question my own worth. Did I get the opportunity to work in the film and television industry based on my talent or hard work, or was it just simply because of the way I looked? When I was asked to speak about the topic of the body, I tried to collate my experiences surrounding my body and what it meant to me. And whilst doing so, it became clear to me that the topic of body and body image for me is intrinsically linked to identity. My body is a map of my self-discovery, but does that mean I'm comfortable in my own skin? Of course not. And I don't think I'll ever be, but it's a journey that's really exciting to take.
Thank you.
It's okay.
Thanks, Bobby. That's amazing. You said your body both protects you and isolates you. Does it still isolate you?
Not so much anymore. No, I mean, it was hard being young and being in a half Asian family in the country. As I get older and you meet more people and you move out of the country and you move to the city, it's nothing like that anymore, you know. And I guess it ties back into that thing where getting work, is it purely just the way I look, or is it based on my abilities? And like I've had some people say to me, you know, you're just lucky that you look this certain way, you know, that you've been blessed with this, and that's why you've fallen into this career that you're doing, you know. And it's a hard thing to kind of go to admit or you know, accept, because it just sounds so horribly vain. And
but there's also an assumption in that comment that life's easier for you. Yeah,
and
which is not the case.
Yeah, and it really does get me quite angry when people just assume that, and you know, I think it's the prejudging or labelling that happens without a chance to kind of explain myself. Or,
yeah.
You know, for people to get to know me, they just automatically think.
So it's kind of like, for instance, I worked with a man who was disabled, and he said that, you know, people would not see a man or someone's brother or someone's lover, they'd see a man with no legs.
Yeah.
So it's like you then get seen as you are just your body.
Yeah, I guess, with TV work and stuff like that, it can definitely happen. I mean, because it does become a commercial quantity. They want you to be this or that. And that's the image that's put out there, and I have no control over that. It's, you know, that's just what, you know, production companies or whoever it is want to do. And
I suppose
hard.
you have the control in I quit.
Yeah, that's true. There is that kind of control, but yeah.
And it's interesting that as a child you talked about, you know, using your body and your physical aggression, and I don't know how violent that manifested as, but to avoid the emotions that you were feeling, and you said the feelings of shame, and then you get into a profession where your currency is your emotions and your body, you know what I mean? So it's like this thing that you were protecting.
On that one. Yeah. No, but I did, as a kid, I haven't really grown much for like the last 10 years. I was kind of like bigger than most kids, and I guess I did just bully people, and it's horrible. And you know, as an adult, if I saw a kid like me, you could quite easily pick it out and go, that, you know, that kid's got a lot of issues going on, and he just needs someone to step in and help him. But not knowing any other way to deal with the kind of tormentors and that kind of stuff, I just turned to aggression and violence, I guess, or just being scarier that no one would pick on me, or, you know.
where do you sit with that now in terms of does that aggression still come up? Or?
Like I said, that aggression which once helped me and protected me, now it really stops me from being able to connect with who I am. You know, I find that anything that I'm frustrated about manifests itself in rage, or you know, that kind of aggression, and it just kind of cuts me off from anything else and really understanding it. So I have to find better ways of dealing with things instead of just getting angry. You know, I tried for such a long time to suppress anger and not get angry, but then I'd just snap. It'd just bottle up, and I'd snap, and I'd just rage, and you know, I'd lose it at my mum or my best friend or my girlfriend, and to a point where it just wasn't reciprocal to the situation that had happened. You know, someone spilt over my coffee, and I'm like, lose it and kick over the table and yell at them. It doesn't add up, you know, and that's stopped me from really kind of understanding what's going on. So, yeah.
We have a lot of awareness about that.
Yeah.
Now it seems.
Yeah, it's something you have to work at, I guess.
Yeah. And also maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong here, but it seems like a more acceptable paradigm for men to sit in, you know, into the aggression than into, I feel really vulnerable right now, you know, into that.
Yeah.
So, you know, maybe society's kind of also reinforcing that belief.
Possibly.
Go Bruce Lee.
Yeah, well, exactly. Bruce and Arnold, you know, they've got a lot to answer for.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, thank you, Bobby.
Thanks.